So, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Share Your Shine. And this is Marie Fratoni, CEO of Get Clients Everywhere at getclientseverywhere.com. And I am today sharing this interview with my friend and colleague, Russell Mariani, who right now is sort of visiting his old stomping ground in New Jersey. And we are going to have a great conversation today about gut health, nutrition. Russell and I know each other. We've known each other now for a couple of years, and we've been in a MetaMind together. We've been masterminding and growing our business and really learning about each other now for a couple of years. And I am just excited to bring his message, bring Russell to all of you. So thanks for listening. Russell, welcome. Welcome from New Jersey.
Thank you, Marie, and hello, everybody. Yeah, it's great to be here this morning.
Yeah. Let me first, of course, give you a little background about who Russell is. And we'll make sure that we kind of get a rousing conversation and let you know how you can reach Russell. But Russell is the CEO of the Center for Functional Nutrition, Russell Mariani. Um, it's amazing in reading his background, even though I've known him for a little bit, just to see what he's dealt with and how he's found the perfect solution for that. But he's the co-founder of the Center for Functional Nutrition in Northampton, Massachusetts, and he's a health educator and a digestive wellness expert. He's been in practice since 1980, so he kind of knows what he's doing. He's been around the block a few times, right? Russell is a health restoration specialist, and his expertise is in gut health, cellular restoration or regeneration, reverse aging, detoxification, and redox signaling, which I don't have any idea what that is. But he specializes in the difficult to solve health challenges. And I think many of us today are dealing with some of those issues that he might be able to help you with. So, a while back in 1973, Russell was diagnosed with a medically incurable disease called ulcerative colitis. He chose the path of natural healing and based on a more traditional approach to organic whole foods, cooking, and eating. And he got better quickly. That's amazing. You know, those of you out there that are dealing with that. Since 1980, he's helped thousands of people regain their health. He's passionate about teaching others through classes and how he became very, very proactive in his own healthcare and the healthcare of others. So I could go on and read this whole bio, but I'd rather have a conversation with Russell. So let's get into it. So you have a personal story of how you began. You know, there's that wonderful saying that says, make your mess your message. And it looks like you've done that very well. How did all of that transpire for you? And how long, when you were diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, how long did it take for you to get well?
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to share this story, Marie. Thanks again so much. So I was cruising along in my life, a regular high school student here in the great state of New Jersey in 1972. I graduated high school in 1973, getting ready for college. The Vietnam War was winding down. There was all kinds of things happening. And over the winter months, I had some very uncomfortable symptoms in the land down under, as we say. And that led me to a gastroenterologist appointment where I had a colonoscopy. And at the end of that colonoscopy, I was told that it didn't look good and that the doctor actually thought I had colon cancer.
Wow.
And they would have to do more tests, and I was to come back in a couple of weeks, and they would, give a confirmed diagnosis. And I remember sitting there saying, the first, in the span of a few seconds, my mind is going crazy. Like, what? Cancer? I mean, a few months ago, I was perfectly fine. What the heck is going on? And the only thing I could think of was the fact that I had been on this crazy high protein diet for about a year. About a year prior to this, my high school basketball coach had come up to me and said, "Hey, we need you to be bigger, stronger, put on more muscle. So go on this high protein diet." And of course, I just said, okay, coach, I'll do it. And probably a month or two into that diet, I started to have symptoms, but I never connected the dots until that moment. So I said to the doctor, do you think this has anything to do with my diet? And his answer changed my life because he said, no, there's no connection whatsoever, and stop self-diagnosing. And I said, well, what causes this problem? And he said, we don't know. Stress. And he left it at that and left the room. So I had never experienced so much stress in my whole life until that moment. Anyway, make a long story short, I went to my public library the next day and started finding books. I started researching diet and disease, diet and colon cancer, diet and, all those type of problems. And when I went back to that same doctor 2 weeks later, I had 4 or 5 books with me. And because all of those books were saying, in essence, that these type of problems, not just colon cancer, but inflammatory bowel disease like colitis and ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease and celiac and these type of things, all of them were caused in part by a lack of proper fiber in the diet. And so when I read that, it was like, aha, because if I had eaten any fruits and vegetables in the previous year, it was totally by accident and not by design. So I thought, okay, I'm onto something here. The doctor said, no, there's no connection, stop self-diagnosing. And he said, by the way, I have good news. You don't have cancer, not yet anyway, but you do have a precancerous condition. It's called ulcerative colitis. It's medically incurable. You'll have to be on medication probably every day for the rest of your life. But he said, don't worry. If the symptoms don't clear up, we can do surgery to remove your colon. And
Drastic.
I'm like, that's good news. That might be good news in your world, but that's not good news in my world. So again, I just changed my diet. Went back to my original diet and I simply added more fiber. I probably went out and bought, like bran cereal or something. But then I started reading. I started reading books. I started going to seminars. And within a few months, I met some people who had mastered to a pretty significant degree an approach to health and healing based on traditional diets. And once I adopted that diet, literally within a month, I was significantly better. And a few months after that, all my symptoms were gone. And that experience really got my attention. I went back to school to study the connections between diet and health. And in 1980, I started my private practice.
So it's an amazing story of how, you really put yourself in the driver's seat and said, this is my body, this is my life. I need to be accountable. And you weren't getting the answers from the traditional medical community. But what I want to know is what can you share with the listeners in our short time here together? What made the difference for you? How did you heal yourself? Like, what did you actually do? And how is it that you work with people now to help them heal themselves, not just from ulcerative colitis, because I'm sure you do
Right,
more than that, but
right.
that I think is the like, what is the transformation you provide?
Great question, Marie. Thank you so much. So probably 70% of my practice is people who have serious digestive system disorders, but a full 30% is everything else. You name it, and I have helped somebody with that condition or that set of symptoms, over the years. I specialize in difficult to solve cases. So if somebody is listening or watching and you've tried many different approaches and many different things and gone to different practitioners and you're not perfectly satisfied with your current level of health, I may be very helpful. And here's why. Here's the answer to your question. Over the years, so from the very beginning, the question I wanted to find answers to was how does how do we get sick? Why does the body start to manifest the symptoms of dis-ease? And that's a very important word, because all of our lives, we just hear the word disease, 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 the name of this disease and that disease and arthritis and colitis, and as if these diseases existed separately out there. But from the point of view of what we call today integrative medicine or functional medicine or functional nutrition, kind of all fits under the broad umbrella of holistic health, all negative conditions are simply the result of a lack of proper functioning. And a lack of proper functioning manifests as dis-ease, a lack of ease, a lack of normal functioning long before it becomes a serious condition. The body is sending us messages that we have a minor condition that we need to take care of right away before it becomes a major condition. So the easiest way to answer this question is, over the years, we've been answering the question, what are the root causes? What are the root causes of disease, and what are the root causes of health? Because it's not just about fixing disease, it's about restoring health and then maintaining health. So 2 basic principles and then 7 distinct and interconnected root cause areas. And I'll just go over it very, very briefly. So the first principle is the body is constantly healing itself. Now, in a medical textbook, you can find this word homeostasis. Homeostasis, like right now, our brain is working, our lungs are working, our heart's working, and we're not telling it what to do. So our body knows how to function and how to function normally. The difference is, do we know how to cooperate with that miracle that we are, all these amazing organs and systems and cells? And for the most part, we don't, because we don't really have an owner's manual. So the first principle is the body knows how to heal itself. The body knows how to function normally. The second principle is nothing is neutral, meaning every decision that we make, especially the decisions about what we drink and what we eat and how we eat and when we eat and where we eat, all those decisions, not one of them isn't having an impact on our physiology and health. Every choice is having an impact, and that impact is either helpful or harmful. That impact is either what I call complementary to the way our body has been designed to function, or it's insulting. And so if you're constantly engaging in insulting habits, the body begins to dysfunction, the body begins to degenerate, and eventually that body will develop a dis-ease.
So it's great that you're positioning these. But what I want to do is to share with you and our listeners that we have an eclipsed time. So I don't know if we're going to have time to go through all 7 and have you explain all 7.
Yeah, I won't explain. We won't have time, but I'll just mention them, and then you can ask about any one of them, okay?
Perfect.
And maybe we can talk about 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah.
So the first root cause area is mindfulness, and
Mm.
that includes everything that you're currently thinking of what that means. But in my world, mindfulness means knowing how to distinguish between the complementary and insulting habits. So it's very important. Number 2 is proper daily hydration. Everyone knows that's essential, but most people don't know that there's a very precise formula based on body weight and activity level. We should drink half our body weight in ounces per day, and we add a little sea salt to the water because that provides minerals, which function as electrolytes, which allows the water to get into the cells. Root cause area number 3 is micronutrients. Root cause area number 4 is macronutrients. Those are the 2 types of nutrients. The macronutrients are the actual food on our plate or in our bowl. The protein, carbohydrate, fat, and fiber, the physical food. The micronutrients are the vitamins, minerals, trace minerals, amino acids, essential fatty acids, pigments like chlorophyll, etc. And the body has very specific requirements for a whole lot of vitamins, a whole lot of minerals, a whole lot of trace minerals, amino acids, the building blocks of protein, et cetera, et cetera. So people can develop deficiencies in the area of micronutrients. And in the area of macronutrients, people are eating too many processed foods, not enough whole foods. Root cause area number 5 is gut health, basically. Something that we call, people are hearing this term more and more, the microbiome, the intestinal microbiome. So when the microbiome is healthy, we have something called symbiosis. And our immune system works fine, and our skin is great, and our mood is good, and our energy is good. But if we have dysbiosis, that means there's an imbalance of the gut bacteria, and that drives all kinds of, all the digestive system disorders, but lots of other problems as well. Root cause area number 6 is oxidative stress. A lot of people are familiar with that term. Oxidative stress means inflammation, or oxidative stress is what causes inflammation. Inflammation then causes dysfunction, et cetera, et cetera. And then root cause area number 7 is redox signaling. And it's a new area of science. The 30-second explanation is this. In 1997, scientists discovered for the very first time that there was something called redox signaling molecules. They signal for the activation of all cellular activity. So they're pretty significant. In 1998, the scientists who made the discovery won the Nobel Prize for Medicine and Physiology. Since 1998, laboratories around the world have been trying to biosynthesize these molecules, which are manufactured in the mitochondria of our cells, so that we could restore deficiencies and restore normal functioning. And around 2008, a lab here in the United States figured out how to do this. And so for the first time in history, we've had a redox signaling supplement, and it's a very significant addition to, the therapeutic toolbox. And I use it every day, and I recommend it to my clients. And basically, I had success prior to 2011, which is when I started on the redox signaling supplement. But what I found since using it and sharing it is people heal faster and people heal deeper when they add this redox signaling supplement. So that's my little synopsis.
Well, it's really great. I mean, I can tell from this conversation, I mean, you have a lot of knowledge about what it is that you're up to. And from a listener standpoint or from a potential client perspective, it's like when you work with them, like who finds you and how do people no, let me ask that a different question. Who is your ideal client? Who can you best work with? So let's just kind of like get that out there so that when our listeners are listening and our viewers are watching, they might identify themselves or someone they know.
Yeah, it's a great question, Marie. So my ideal client is someone who is looking in the mirror every morning saying, I know I know I should feel better than I feel, and I don't know how to get there. And everyone I've consulted with, maybe they help me a little bit, but I haven't gotten over the hump. I haven't turned the corner. I can't look in the mirror and say to myself, I feel great. So that's somebody who's struggling with their health. They're suffering. They're nowhere near where they want to be, and they're nowhere they're capable of being. They just don't know how to get there. So I can help people get from point A to point Z, which is the point where they can look in the mirror and say, hallelujah, I feel fantastic. So I guide everybody through a step-by-step process, making changes in each of those 7 root cause areas. The second thing I would say in answer to that question is that my ideal client also realizes that they need to be more proactive. Now, sorry, let me qualify that, because a lot of people have tried to be proactive. They're taking responsibility. They're trying different diets. They're trying different supplements. They're trying different practitioners. So it's not that they haven't been proactive. They just haven't found the right teacher, guide, resource, etc. So I can be extremely helpful for those people because I don't overlook anything. I'm very, very particular to make sure that the fundamentals, the most basic and essential fundamentals, are being looked at in terms of how they're practicing their food, how they're practicing cooking, how they're consuming their meals, what supplements they're taking, what habits they have. So it's really a very comprehensive and kind of exhaustive examination to find the insulting habits in their diet and in their lifestyle that are driving the negative symptoms or causing the negative symptoms.
Yeah, it's great, so I can see where in people working with you, you're more thorough than a 15-20 minute visit at your local doctor. So, which is what the
Yes.
traditional medical community is about. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's like you said, you go deeper and you go wider, and that's a really great thing. So the question here becomes, you know, so besides, like, well, if people want to reach out to you, do you have like an initial conversation with them first, or what's your process that you do with people if they would like to reach out to you?
Yeah. Thanks, Marie. Yeah. So I offer everyone a free 30-minute, what we call first step conversation. And the purpose of that conversation is for them, for you listening, to tell me where you're at, what you've tried, what your current symptoms are, if you have a diagnosed condition, what that is, so that I can tell you, yes, I have experience helping people with those kind of symptoms or with that condition. And here's how we approach it. Here's how I'm going to work with you generally, of course, in that first 30 minutes. And then they follow that up with what we call an initial consultation. It's 90 minutes on Zoom. They have filled out a very extensive form, like 12 pages, 15 pages. I go over that before we get on the Zoom. And then the purpose of the initial consultation is to explain to them exactly what changes I'm proposing them to make. Now, the third step is the most important step, because a lot of practitioners will do those first two steps. And then at the end of this second session, the patient or client will be given a list of changes to make. And then they're told, I'll see you in 3 months, or I'll see you in 6 weeks. And then the person goes back home and tries to implement all these guidelines. Now, even if the guidelines are accurate, it's very difficult to uh, to prevent what I call adjustment issues as you try to implement everything. So one of the big differences with me is once people start implementing the changes, I am in touch with them on a daily basis, 7 days a week, for,
Wow.
for at least a 2 or 3 month period, because the angel is in the details. The healing is in the details. And even a week, even if you were meeting with your practitioner once a week, it may not be enough to make sure that you're comfortable during the transition as your body is healing, as your body is restoring. I have found that the most important thing is to be in touch on a daily basis. It's not long. People send in a form. I read the form. They're answering certain questions, describing certain symptoms. We want to see that symptoms are improving, that nothing's getting worse. And if they're not improving, then I can make adjustments, in the things that I've asked them to do so that they are experiencing almost daily improvement. So that's a big difference in how I work with my clients.
That's great. I understand that, for our listeners and our viewers, as I've gotten to know Russell, I know people that have worked with him. I've not yet. Um, but people have really had such great things to say, and he's often called the sensei, which I think that's such a great name, and it's, when you hear that, how does that strike you, Russell?
Yeah, well, I think we're partly talking about our good friend Mark Porteous, who he coined that phrase. I helped him with a difficult arthritis condition, osteoarthritis, where he had been in really severe pain in his hip and knees for quite a while. And within a 2 month period, he went from kind of excruciating pain where he was where he had very little flexibility and constant
I
level
remember
7 to
that.
level 8 pain.
Yeah.
And so once he got better, in one of our follow up sessions, he said, "You are my self care sensei," and so that's where that word phrase came from. And to me, it's very significant because I see myself not as a healer, as primarily an educator. I teach people what the fundamentals are, what the fundamental principles are, what the fundamental practices are, and then I guide them through a process. I think of myself more like a wilderness guide. Like I've taken people back and forth through this wilderness that we call natural healing, and I've gotten people successfully to the other side. And part of the reason, or part of the reason I'm able to do that is I am not doing the healing. I am helping that person awaken their own self care sensei. I'm helping people to awaken the self healing capabilities inside their own body. Because again, the first principle of what we call functional medicine is the body knows how to heal itself. So if you can help people get out of the way, one part of the equation is help people get out of the way. Stop doing insulting things. And of course, a lot of people are doing insulting things, aware of it. Many people are aware of their insult, but many people are not aware of certain key insults. In fact, sometimes what turns out to be insulting for them, they think it's helping. And so, pointing out that distinction and guiding them through a process is really what makes the big difference.
So, it's just great to hear you really kind of put some flesh on the bones of healthcare, that you can really get in there and help to diagnose and treat. And I love that you just said you're not the healer. The body heals itself, but you're the guide. You're like you're the tour guide, to be able to do
Exactly.
that. The docent
Exactly.
of our body, if you will.
Yeah.
So if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way for people to contact you, Russell?
So the easiest thing to do, you can see my name down here in the corner of the screen. If you just Google my name, you'll go right to our website, the Center for Functional Nutrition.net. So that's the easiest way to connect with me. And then right on that home page, you'll see an option for, and in fact, it might say get started. And then it explains how to set up this first step 30-minute conversation with me.
It sounds really great. Well, I just want to say thank you for your time here today. Thanks for making a difference for our listeners, our viewers. Um, to my to those that are watching, I just want you to know I hang out with some of the coolest people, and I know some of the coolest people that really are really making a difference for just everyday folks. All of us are just kind of plodding along through life, and some more happily than others, some more joyfully than others, some more healthily than others. And so, when you have people that cover a span of um, what's the word I want, like instructional pieces, or just your colleagues, they become part of your team and for living a great life. So, Russell, thank you so much for that. And for everybody else that's listening, I just want to say again, this is Marie Fratoni with Get Clients Everywhere at getclientseverywhere.com. And thank you for listening and viewing this episode of Share Your Shine. Russell, thank you.
Thanks, Marie. Thanks, everybody.